All right. For the last postseason game of men's Razorback basketball, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans, SEC fans everywhere? Welcome to the postgame show here on Pig Trail, on the Pig Trail Network. I hate it when my bracket's right. I hate it. What a bummer. Arkansas drops their first loss since the SEC tournament in the Elite Eight. You wish they were going on. You wish they could move on to the Final Four, but a lot of positives from this season. What a year this team put together. Incredible. I mean, really, you go back to those back-to-back horrific losses to LSU and Alabama, Missouri. Like, what was that? But I think something happened after Oklahoma State. Something happened after Oklahoma State. This team figured something out. And I think had that team that showed up, February, you definitely don't see those blowout losses. I think you beat Oklahoma State. You're ranked earlier in the year, and they had to overcome a lot this year. And they had to do without Jalen Williams for a little bit. There towards the end, didn't get him back until the NCAA tournament. So he missed how many regular season games there towards the end, and the SEC tournament. Arkansas had to overcome some stuff. You had the injury to Smith earlier on in the year too. You can't hang your head. You really can't if you're a Razorback fan. This year was special. Nobody had these guys going to the Elite Eight. Nobody. And they made it this far. My bracket was garbage like most people, but I did have Arkansas losing to Baylor in the Elite Eight. So Baylor will advance to the Final Four. We have a super chat. Let me go back up here. Let me scroll up. Josh Weaver. Thanks, man. I appreciate the super chat. Sunny days. Hogs are mad. The rest of us are just damn proud to be able to root this team of absolute hogs. Woo Pig Suey. Sorry if I butchered that. I'm exhausted. I did go down to Bud Walton. I was there until right before half and decided I was having some signal issues with my phone, and I knew I wanted to do a postgame show, and I was like, well, I can't do a postgame show if I have no signal. And I kind of wanted to come home anyways, eat dinner, watch the game. I still, even when Arkansas was down 18, I wasn't panicking, but Baylor is built different. This is a legitimate number 1, number 2 caliber basketball team. And the fact that Arkansas clawed their way back, I mean, they were down 18 points in the first half, only to close that gap down to 8 points. I agree with here we go with the ticky-tack bullshit foul calls. Some of those calls, I would argue, at least 2 of those calls on JD, especially in the second half, were absolute garbage. Or maybe it was one that he had there, in the middle of the first half. I just thought they were awful calls. They were tacky. I thought the same thing with Justin Smith. I thought he had a couple of just tacky calls. It seemed like Arkansas had to really go out of their way to get a foul, to get one called on Baylor. I mean, you had a couple of different times. You had Desi Seals just flat out get thrown around like a damn rag doll and no call. There was one on Tate in the first half that, and then you have Baylor getting away with a couple of travels. But you didn't lose this game because of that. Again, I always have to remind fans, like, yeah, I agree. Some of the officiating was, at times not great. Definitely in favor of Baylor. I would agree with that assessment of the officiating of this game. But, I mean, they still found ways to get to the foul line. And I think Arkansas got a couple of calls. I think they got at least a couple of makeup calls. So this isn't about officiating, as I've had to mention more than once on this show. There were a lot of issues. A lot of it was just trying to overcome Baylor's unbelievable shooting. Again, thank you, Josh, for that super chat, man. I appreciate it. Oh, did I? Okay, I'm sorry. Josh with another $5 super chat. You won't butcher this one. Woo Pig Suey, so proud to be a hog. I agree. Again, what a year. It's unfortunate that eventually you were going to come across someone like this. I mean, it is the NCAA tournament. Some of you, it might be past your bedtime, but some of you are not old enough to remember when Arkansas basketball, where this was the expectation. I mean, I was knee high to a grasshopper the last time. I mean, I was in 5th grade. I was at Jefferson Elementary in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and like that was the expectation growing up. 96, that was, you remember how that year unfolded. And then it all just kind of, ever since then, the end of the Nolan era was terrible. It just left a sour taste in everybody's mouths, including Nolan, although he did stick around here in NWA. And thank God that he did. And thank God we bridged that relationship with him, because I still think he's one of the greatest of all time to ever coach at the University of Arkansas, no matter the sport. I think Dave Van Horn is in that argument, or in that category, but Nolan got it done. I mean, the expectation at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville and in the state of Arkansas was, yeah, of course we're going to make the tournament. The question is, how far do we go? We haven't had that. We haven't had that in a number of years, again, since 1995, 96, but you haven't made it this far since 95. But again, the expectations after that were always, we're better than this. We're better than this. We're better than this. Holy hell, we're better than this. And then the expectation became, well, we might make the tournament year 2 or 3. We might make it, but we'll probably be one and done, I think Eric Musselman has changed that. I think I really do. The question now becomes, of course, getting him to come back. There's still rumors swirling around about Cal leaving Kentucky and what happens if he does leave, because there's so much. The expectations at Kentucky are really high, but then again, he's still there. I mean, he hasn't won a title there. He's only done it once, and that's been a minute. He recruits on an extremely high level, but still isn't getting the job done. So does that job open up? What's going on down south? Like what does the future hold for Eric Musselman at Arkansas? I feel like it's going to take a lot to get him out for him to leave. I was never sweating Minnesota or Indiana. It was so bizarre to me to see even Hog fans buy into that. No, he's not leaving this job for those jobs, even if they were still open at this very moment. So now it becomes Hunter Yurichek's job to make sure he doesn't go anywhere, lock him down, and then the next step is Eric Musselman. What coaching changes do we see? What assistants come and go? Who returns? What player? Can they get Justin Smith back? Moody, I realize his tournament performance was not what we wanted. It wasn't what we expected. And I think some people, I noticed Witt in our Discord, I think some people don't understand that it's not always about what you do in a tournament setting, or, he's got sufficient film to show that, hey, he's got the ability. He is a capable first-round draft pick. I would argue, I don't know about lottery pick. I'm starting to wonder if the lottery pick is now starting to drop a little bit. But the NBA, again, it works very similar to how the MLB draft, how these front offices and how these team managers and coaches and assistants and all the working heads in the front office, how this works, how they evaluate talent is based on their potential. And Moody's got it. I don't know how well he'll do at the NBA at that level. I have no idea. I mean, there's guys that go and they're bust all the time, but they're all the time, every year, even guys from Kentucky, right? Duke, North Carolina, the blue chippers, even their most elite go to the NBA and they get drafted early and they get drafted high and they don't do much in the NBA. But the difference is the quantity of how much those schools put out. Whereas Arkansas, it's like once every few years, right? Moody I don't expect him to be back. Can you get anyone else to return? That's the question, right? That's what's up next for Eric Musselman. One step at a time, right? Hunter Yurichek, First, let's make sure we secure Musselman, and then let's have Musselman. I don't know, figure out what needs to happen next. But again, super proud of these guys. Super proud of this team. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I didn't want to watch Baylor celebrate. You know, we've seen the other bench do this now. I mean, it started to feel like, you know, normal to have the other bench, like their guys, you know, with their hands holding up their heads and the tears. And, you know, I don't think Arkansas was doing that. I kind of felt like someone mentioned in Discord they're playing with house money, and I think that was probably – I don't know that they saw it that way. I think that's how fans see it. I don't know that they saw it that way, but I didn't see any of them crying. Now, maybe there's something again, I didn't watch. Maybe there is. I don't know. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man? Thomas Nunley. Hang on. I'm going to read your super chats here in just a second. But yeah, you get used to seeing the other team, you know, lose and, you know, hanging their heads and looking sad. And tonight it's Arkansas. And it sucks. It sucks big time. Let me get my glasses on, you guys. I appreciate you guys being here. Let me get the glasses on. Let me get the glasses. I did have a young man at Bud Walton recognize me with my mask on. And he said, "Are you going to do your post-game show tonight?" I was like, "I'm going to try if I have a signal." And I connected to their Wi-Fi, and it was working really good in Bud Walton, and then it just dropped. And I was like, well, this sucks. This is going to be a big post-game show. I want to make sure I can get it done right. The Florida post-game shows were something else. Didn't really like those. Dude, you know, with the mobile phone, like I hated it. I'm not going to lie to you. I hated it, but at least the signal was a little bit more reliable. Let me go to Super Chat. And that was the other thing. You couldn't navigate chat on that thing. Like, you have to constantly click on the screen, right, to get and the cool thing is you can select what chat you want to look at. So, like, if you wanted to look at the live chat, you click that. Super Chat, you click the Super Chat button, but it was a nightmare. All right, Fishman, definitely past my bedtime. Appreciate you, Ty. Woo Pig. Arkansas is back on the map as long as Must don't leave. I agree. I next year, if you, we're gonna play this thing a week at a time or a month at a time, right? But even if you don't bring back, and I'm just gonna say Moody's gone. If you don't bring back Smith, and you lose who you expect to lose, I still think this is going to be a team that's, if they're not ranked, they're on the bubble. I mean, holy cow. If you had told me in November we'd be watching Hog Hoops 2 days left in March, I would have laughed you out of the chat. Damn proud and Woo Pig. This is John Hawes. By the way, Invincible, John, I'm telling you, Amazon Prime, that show is violent. Do not watch it with your kids. But, wow, I was kind of blown away. You can watch the first 3 episodes on Amazon Prime, Invincible. If you're into Marvel comic book movies, whatever, DC stuff, you'll dig it. It was pretty great. It's pretty awesome. Baylor on steroids, for real, says Mr. Bloodline. Just hit the like button. Yeah, let's get the likes up, huh? Let's get the likes going on here. Hit the likes. On Twitter, I saw where someone said that we gave up after our shots stopped falling and they hit those threes. They didn't miss. I mean, for the first, 10 minutes of the first half, they were shooting north of like 65, 70% from the field. Are you kidding me? Arkansas 0 for their last 10. 0 for their last 10. They went on like this, I think it was a 6-minute scoring drought, 6 or 7 minute scoring drought. I mean, you just can't do that. You can't do that. And honestly, Arkansas, had that been anybody else, they lose by 20 points. They lose by 20 or more. And you go on these scoring droughts against teams like Baylor, and then we kind of struggled boxing out at times, and then you saw Justin Smith make the adjustments inside. Then he starts boxing out and getting the rebounds, the long rebounds, which you got to expect against teams like Baylor that like to take the threes. I'm going to play some Madden, and then it's going on the TV. All right, John. You'll like it, man. I'm not kidding. I need to fire up revamped NCAA. I've been kind of jonesing to play some college football. They gave up when they were down only 4 and started jacking up threes and craziness. Baylor had 4 people in foul trouble, and we stopped trying to drive. I noticed that too. I noticed they had they kind of stopped driving the lane more. I really thought you'd softened them up pretty good inside. Why not keep doing that? Why not keep driving the lane? And, again, you lost J.D. Note, and you had Arkansas had players in foul trouble, and it just kind of felt like Arkansas was at times in over their head. And then, look, like I said, down 18 points, and they find a way to get back into the game. Again, anybody else, I don't know how many teams Baylor faced this year that had to overcome an 18-point deficit and then managed to make it a game. I mean, at one point, I think Arkansas was down 4 points. Now, they never led this game. I mean, that's only happened, I think, twice this year, or 3 times, I think, this year. So, yeah, Baylor's just on another level. I think people need to realize Baylor is a national title caliber team. And this is the first time they've been in the Final Four in 70 years or something. I didn't know that, honestly. That was a surprise. Baylor is a Christian school. It took God to stop the Razorbacks. God. Ain't no Wildcat going to stop us next year. They were just kids, bro, and were worn out, panicked, and gave up. I don't know. You must be talking to somebody else in chat. I don't know what you're. I hope Zags win or UCLA. I'm kind of pulling for UCLA, even though I picked the Zags in both my brackets. By the way, both my brackets, I had Arkansas in the Elite Eight, losing to Baylor in both brackets. So, like I said, I hate it when my bracket's right. Texas is an intriguing job, but let's not kid ourselves. Must needs to get us a couple of shooters, and we'll be a tough out next year. Well, I mean, you probably are going to have some return next year. Moody was so trash during this tournament, says Joe. Also, the Arkansas mask mandate is no longer in effect April 2nd. Does that include Baum Walker? I think so. So I think they can go to full capacity. I thought it was the 1st. I thought it was April 1st. No, Bruins... Not after the Final Four. Yeah, well, New Year. I kind of want them to win. I don't care if the Zags win. I just don't want Baylor to win. I hate when the team you lose to, even though it makes you look better, I hate it when the team that you lose to makes it to the or wins the whole thing. I hate it. Cough, cough, North Carolina. Someone I thought I saw pretty good. Hit the like button. Yeah. Keep it going. Keep it going. All right, let's go over the numbers really quick. Let's do this. We can kind of dissect a little bit of what happened. All right, Baylor always the opposing team gets the numbers first, and the minutes on the floor are not updated yet. I'm gonna reload that. Or are they? They should be by now. Give it a second. There it is. Okay, minutes on the floor are up. Thank God. All right. Yeah, Teague was a problem. He caught fire there towards the end. Did he get all 3 of his threes in the second half? I feel like that's what happened. He was 8 of 18 from the floor. Again, no surprise there. He had 37 minutes on the floor. 3 for 3 from the free throw line. Yeah, 3 of 7. I mean, they shot 8 of 15. Right? That's north of 50% at three-point range. There's part of the problem right there. And then they shot 48%, 30 of 62 from the floor. Again, they were north of 62% most of the first half. I think they ended the first half at 60% shooting or something. It was crazy. I mean, they just didn't miss. You needed them to have an off night, and it just didn't happen. Teague, their leading shooter. You hear that? It sounds like my shoes, my flippy floppies are rubbing up against the desk, and it sounds like I'm in here cutting farts. I assure you I'm not yet. Second leading scorer for them was Butler, and again, Butler was someone that you needed to contain. He was really someone that I had circled coming into this. This has got to be a guy he's capable. He was 2 of 3 at three-point range, 4 for 11 from the floor, and 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Again, they shot 77% from the line. So 48% from the floor, 53 from three-point range. Their bench, they got they only rotated 3 guys in. They had 5 blocks. They turned the ball over 9 times. That was it. So Arkansas's 15. 9 times. You needed to get them. That number needed to be 14, 15, somewhere in there. And you just knew that probably the odds of that happening were not super high. Arkansas, again, they were trailing, I think, what was it? At one point, it was like 15-2 or something. Again, Arkansas, they went on a couple scoring droughts, really long droughts, and that you just can't do that against teams like Baylor. They're lucky they only lost this game 81-72. It could have gotten a lot uglier. So their leading scorer off the bench was Flagler. Got to be careful how you say that. YouTube, that's Flagler. That's not me with your quote-unquote hate speech. Okay? Adam Flagler off the bench, the leading scorer. I mean, they'll get you for anything these days. You guys think I'm kidding. They have like this ping system. It's like, whoop, whoop, he said a bad word. Hate speech. Ban him for life. Cancel him. But he was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. They had 11 offensive rebounds. The rebound game, Arkansas won. I mean, Baylor is a really good rebounding team, and Arkansas won that category. It's not like Baylor blew you out of every category. I mean, that's not what happened tonight, right? Outside of how you started the game, and your three-point shooting was once again atrocious. That's back-to-back games where the three-point shooting is just a non-factor for this team, which is surprising considering how Arkansas started the year, right? So Arkansas, who ended up only playing 8 players, rotated 8. Seals off the bench would get 31 minutes. Arkansas is 26-54 from the floor, 48%. That's not bad. 27% on 11 three-point shot attempts, not so great. 3 of 11 there. You were 74% from the free throw line. Moody was 7 of 8, 11 points. But he was 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Jalen Williams led the I think he tied for the lead in offensive rebounds in the game for 3. But he had 8 points. Someone help me out. I think that's a career high for him as in an Arkansas jersey. 8 points. I don't know that he did that. Someone help me out with that. Whoever's watching this after the fact, if you could, or those of you in live chat, go back and look that up. I'm pretty sure that's a high for him. 8 points, 4 rebounds, a block. He turned the ball over once. But your leading scorer, well, J.D. Notae was your leading scorer until he fouled out. He had 14 points. But Devo would end up also with the 14. Devo kind of came through there, especially in the end. Ethan Henderson logged some time. No Connor Vanover. I don't think Connor logged a single minute in the last game either. No Connor Vanover, which is a little bit surprising. 4 of your starting 5 double digits, right? Justin Smith came close to a double-double, 6 rebounds, 10 points. Devo with close to a double-double, 6 rebounds, also double-digit points, 14 points. Jalen Tate, 13 points, but he turned the ball over 6 times. Again, 15 total turnovers to their 9. That's a little problematic. Did I miss a super chat? No, I didn't. Okay. Devo was so tough. I'll tell you, their resiliency this year was just so impressive. You just never count them out. I mean, they could be down 18 points. You do not count them out. And, I wonder, number one, I do not think the officiating, I don't think it caused you to lose the game. I don't think it caused Arkansas to lose the game. I do think it disrupted a lot of what Arkansas was trying to do on both ends of the floor. This was not called evenly, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't feel like it was. We did actually end up with more shots, but most of that, because we were really good at drawing contact fouls. But it felt like the timing of some of those fouls, I don't know. Again, it's not why you lost. It wasn't a giant discrepancy in fouls, but it did feel like, especially on who was targeted on those fouls. Those J.D. Notae fouls are so ticky-tack. They were BS calls. A couple of those were just light contact calls. Drawing the charge is one thing. Arkansas, that's been a strength. I mean, you go back to Jalen Williams. That's something Jalen, as a true freshman in Power 5 Division I basketball, his ability to draw the charge was pretty impressive. And not just him. This team understands how to draw the charge. That's a part of it. And that charge on Notae was legit. I'll give him that. That was a legit call, but I felt like a couple of the other calls were a little tacky. Same on Justin Smith. And then, you know what? That last one wasn't. I mean, he definitely made contact with the player, with the Baylor player. So, tie, win versus Alabama, 13 points. Okay, he did have 13 points against Bama. All right, thank you. 8 boards. I thought I knew he did well. That was in the first game, wasn't it? Was that the first game when Arkansas lost and he came through? I seem to remember that being the first game. How are we going to be better next year? Question mark. Too many thinking they can go to the NBA. We'll just have to wait and see, David. We don't know. We don't know who leaves. Like I said, we're going to have to play this, a month at a time. They're going to have to play that. First off, you need to figure out what's going on with your coaching staff because the kind of year you just had, it's going to draw interest. You're going to have some of these guys are probably going to move on. I could see that. The Hogs didn't give up. I respect Moses for playing till the end. Leave Moody alone. He's legendary. I thought Moody was great, throughout most of the season. I think people need to realize he quietly gets 15, 16 points. He was freshman of the year in the SEC. The guy averaged 17 points a game. I mean, that's not bad. Yeah, he doesn't take games over from a scoring perspective, but he does a lot of other things really well. Way too many nonchalant turnovers. Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of been the case this year. They've had some very just bizarre, like trying to throw the deep ball. How many times have we seen them do that and that get picked off? Like watching Ryan Mallett throw picks against Bama or Nick Starkel or any quarterback under Chad Morris. Like why? I know they're trying to get cute or they think they have an advantage. A guy busts loose. They try to throw the ball deep and it just gets picked off like it did there towards the end of this game against Baylor. What the hell was that? They did that. They've done that at least once every single game this year, it feels like just stupid passing. And I don't know. And something that they did improve on. You guys remember how much I complained about their inability to finish at the rim? That was a legit problem for Arkansas. They could not finish at the rim. This was something that was embarrassing. It was so bad. And I said to you guys, if they don't get this cleaned up, it's going to be a long year. And they got it cleaned up and they got better. And they got better. They got so much better at defending at the rim, altering shots. I do think that's where Connor kind of played a role there. Jalen, Justin Smith. But it still wasn't great play at the rim this year, right? But they got lost underneath the rim. They'd try to move the ball around, and that's fine. That's what you're supposed to do. If there's someone else who's got a cleaner shot and you're either doubled or you're drawing the most interest from the defense and you hand the ball off or pass it underneath, that's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be played. Arkansas would get lost in those situations and would turn the ball over, and I don't know how often. It just seemed like they were so foreign to being under the rim and knowing how to finish. And that's a part of finishing at the rim. Knowing where you're at, knowing where your teammates are, and, but they got better. They got better as the year went on. I still think it was a bit of a problem. I still think they had too many, like Greg Horton said, nonchalant. I like the way he put that, nonchalant turnovers, and it did happen. And that is the game of basketball. It happens. I get it. This isn't football. But I don't know. I kind of felt like that was something that they did get better at, finishing at the rim. But then it kind of reared its head up, and then the stupid turnovers, and especially in the last couple of games. Just, come on, be smarter with the ball. Don't be so careless. Ty, do you think Smith could be more like Corliss if he worked to play that way, or are physical bigs like that gone for good? Hang on a second. I'm really thirsty. I don't know. Corliss played like he was 7'3", 350 pounds. I just remember watching that guy play with so much power. I always talk about, especially kids out of Arkansas, they play with a chip on their shoulder. Corliss played that way. He played bigger than he actually was. I mean, I remember him playing and kids talking about him on the playground like he was 7'3". Like, oh man, Corliss, he's 7'2", like 300 pounds, and obviously he wasn't. He was just so powerful, right? And I don't know that there will ever be, like, those are big shoes to fill, right? To talk about someone being the next Corliss. I do think Justin Smith could be the next Justin Smith. I think he's very much capable of being his own man at Arkansas. And I think if there's anybody who could benefit the most by coming back next year, and you guys know where I stand on all that, I think everybody could benefit, especially under the tutelage of someone like Eric Musselman, a guy who's been around the business. He understands all aspects of the NBA. You know, this isn't a guy that's new to all this, that's on the outside looking into what's going on in the NBA and what they expect, how the front offices work. There's no one, I don't know if there's another coach that you could actually benefit more from in terms of coming back for another year to advance your game than Eric Musselman. So Justin Smith could absolutely turn in. I mean, he could be his own man. I mean, you look at what he did this year, the progress that he made, especially coming off that injury from earlier in the year and surgery, right? The way he transformed. The same thing can be said of Jalen Williams, even though Jalen, you know, especially after COVID, I don't know that Jalen, he had a couple of really good games rebounding-wise, but I still think that he left some easy points on the floor. I think he could have done a little bit more, but I love Jalen's game. I love what he did. His postseason play wasn't terrible. I mean, it was pretty solid. Again, in the rebound department, he's had a couple of really great games. I feel like he left a little bit of something else out on the floor. I think he's gonna develop into a pretty good player. Justin Smith, I think, could definitely. I think he's someone who could take advantage of being under Musselman for another year and could really make a name for himself. Because right now, and I tried looking him up on NBA message boards and wherever in terms of the draft, and no one talks about him a whole lot. Not to say that he won't get drafted. I have no idea, but he's not that name yet. You come back next year, you develop another part of your game, whatever that is, whatever you think you need, you develop that part of his game. Similar to Bobby Portis. Remember when he came back year 2 and all of a sudden he had a nice little clean jumper, he had a cleaner shot. He developed a little bit more of a long 2 game. He could knock down the 10 and 15 footers all of a sudden. Like he obviously his coming back that year 2, even though it was Mike Anderson, who I kind of felt like that was a big disadvantage of his, you know, developing players for the NBA. Portis, I think obviously did better coming back, so maybe they can get Smith. And Smith, look, I mean, he's technically a senior. He's done. Ty, are we getting Smith or Tate back next year? Are they eligible? Yeah, they are eligible to come back. Hey, Ty, is Henderson a senior or junior? Ethan's a junior, right? Isn't Ethan a redshirt junior? Will he transfer? That is a possibility. Look, they're going to have to make some room. I don't know how. If we're going to talk about scholarship distribution, I don't have a guide, or I don't know. You guys probably, some of you will know more about that than I will. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make room if you get guys coming back. I hope Ethan comes back. I think he's kind of hit his ceiling. I truly don't know. I mean, watch him come back and be a freaking All-American. I don't know, but you kind of feel like he struggled just to get 4 or 5 minutes on the floor this year. And a lot of that has to do with the names we just talked about, right? I mean, these guys that come in and just took over. But if some of these guys move on and Ethan sticks around, I mean, who knows what he could do coming back if he decides to stick around. I don't know. Does Moses stay now? Sorry, I'm late. No. I have a real hard time seeing him come back. I really do. We gotta have a diamond. We gotta have a diamond hands with Muss. Connor should go to be a tree. Useless. He gets muscle. He has no hope. Just saying. Ethan is a junior. Yeah, Ethan's a junior. That's right. I remember when Vanover was so hyped up so much after the red-white game last year. Well, if you watched it, I was there. He was knocking down everything, contested or not. He looked sharp and had a clean stroke. And he showed moments of that this year. I've talked about some of my I really wish they kept him underneath the rim more often on the offensive end. But I know why they didn't, because the advantage is you got a guy who's 7'3", who is capable of knocking down the deep three, who's capable of knocking it down out on the perimeter, stretches the floor out. All of a sudden you got to bring your 4 or your 5 up, right, to deal with Connor. And it allows you to attack the lane a little more. It kind of opens up gaps, and you can play in space a little better when you've got someone that size who can knock down the three. The problem was we just didn't see enough of it. Again, that's another guy who was actually here last year, but he had to sit out. But again, I did watch him in the red-white scrimmage. Who knows what his ceiling really is? Unfortunately, we just didn't see enough of it. Maybe whatever he does, I wish him the best. If he sticks it out, hopefully, they rework him into this system and they figure out a better way to utilize his abilities. To whatever that, maybe they're fine with what he did this year, and he just had a hard time seeing the floor, especially because he'd get smoked. He'd get smoked defensively. Off the dribble, forget about it. I mean, he'd just get beat, and that's one of the reasons why he'd play like 4 minutes. The minute he gets beat, Musselman yanked the chain. He's like Dave Van Horn with his midweek pitching rotation. Like, all right, well, you got beat, you're out, or you jacked up a bad three. Look what he does with JD Note. I mean, he doesn't mess around unless he absolutely has to have him on the floor. Ty, do you think today's officiating stopped guys from being more physical like Corliss? That is absolutely, you've got the hand check fouls. They call more contact fouls than they used to. College basketball and the NBA, I think, have changed in that department. And you talk about I think there's a couple things different compared to today's game to yesterday's game. You don't see true fives anymore on the floor like you used to, or when you do, they're not out on the floor. A true 6'11", monster center or a monster power forward, guys that can play inside and can get easy blocks and alter the shot. Connor was supposed to kind of play into that role this year, and I don't know that he ever really did. I mean, he did. I mean, he had moments where he had like 8 games in a row or something where he had at least 2 or 3 blocks a game. I mean, he has it in him to do that. But yeah, no, I think the way officiating works today, it's just different. I feel like I think officials today, it seems like they're okay with making the game about themselves. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know, but I do feel like at times the officials on the floor, and not about them personally, but just like the rules of the game and upholding, what the officials are supposed to call on the floor. And I feel like they're okay. Whereas 25 years ago, I don't know that was the case. Maybe that is why we haven't had another Corliss since Corliss. Got to remember how highly recruited he was out of high school too. I think Moses comes back. I mean, anything's possible. I just have a hard time seeing it. He played terrible today and seemed pretty mad leaving court tonight. I don't know. Do you think we have a chance at Pinson from Mizzou? I think if anyone is curious about transferring, and you look at what Eric Musselman did with transfers this year, this is why some people in my chat who were like, "We're transfer you. What good is that?" Are you kidding? Did you see? Have they? And those people they've vanished. If you've noticed, a lot of you guys, it's not any of you that I can remember in chat, but there are people in my chat like that's not a good thing. We don't need to be draft you or transfer you or whatever. If anyone out there is curious about transferring, look at what he did this year with transfers. I mean, he completely redeveloped their game to fit his style, which is implemented in the NBA. Yeah, I think you named just about most transfers outside of the ones that have already announced where they're going, you're going to have a shot at. Again, it's just going to depend on a couple of things. Number one, room. Who do you have room for? What does the scholarship distribution look like? I don't know. Good old school type big. Yeah, Gafford was. The craziest thing about Gafford was how quickly that cat could move up and down the floor. You don't see bigs. I mean, the guy, remember was it Vanderbilt when he got the block and he turned around and went down the other side of the floor and had that huge windmill dunk? You guys remember that? That's one of my favorite plays ever from a Razorback. Was that against Vanderbilt? I think it was Vanderbilt, but regardless, it was incredible. I've never seen a big move like that at Arkansas. His athleticism to get up and down the floor as quickly, his ability to adjust under the rim, his play under the rim, he altered shots. I couldn't imagine what someone like Gafford could do, or even Bobby Portis for that matter, or Qualls. You go back, Young. You go back to some of these guys, no matter the position, and you think about their potential and what they could have achieved under Eric Musselman. You saw what he did for Isaiah Joe and Mason Jones. Another fantastic post-game show. I appreciate that. If we can get the gang back together plus the 4-star chance more, look out. I'm exhausted. I probably have 100 gaffes tonight. I'm sure someone will call me out and correct me on it, but I do appreciate you guys. It was a late one. It's midnight. I know some of you got to get up. I've got to get up. Virtual class. Yay. You guys are awesome. It's been a crazy year in college basketball this year. Arkansas, I said at the beginning of the year, I felt like they were Sweet 16 caliber. Doesn't mean that I fully believe they were going to make it to the Sweet 16, especially after a couple of blowout losses, their performance against Mizzou. Even later on in the year, when you played not so great and you still barely lost to Mizzou, I still they should make the tournament. I don't know how far they go. And then you go on this win streak, and the way the year unfolded, especially in the month of February, in those final 2-3 weeks, you knew, I think a lot of you understood, Arkansas was in a damn good position, and they're playing lights out. And I felt like even before the SEC tournament, I felt like if I were to fill out a bracket, I would have put them at the Sweet 16. What did I end up doing? Even after they lost against LSU in the SEC tournament, I put them in the Elite Eight in both my brackets. I need to go back and I haven't looked at my last I looked at it, my bracket was absolutely shredded. But I did have Baylor eliminating Arkansas at this point in the Elite Eight. That's about my only good call on my entire bracket. The rest of it was trash, I think, outside of Gonzaga. And I still have I've got the Zags winning it all. Peace, Ty. Can't be happier with this season. Very excited for the future. I agree. Well, now baseball. We got spring football. I'm ready. Good night, Ty. Yeah, great show, Ty. I know nothing about baseball, but I'll be back for spring football. I will be at the red-white scrimmage. When is that? April something, 17th. I'll be there. My plans are to be there. And if you guys do end up going, I'm hard to miss. I'm big, fat, tall, hairy guy with a beard. So yeah, maybe we can talk about the Hogs at the spring scrimmage. I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, some of the moves on the roster, a lot of stuff to talk about. I do want to do some more content, some more spring football content on all that. So there's a lot of stuff happening in Razorback football. A lot of stuff going on. Recruiting wise, still waiting on a couple players. I think they're on commit watch for at least one player at the moment. We'll see about that other 4-star tackle, Harris. I know he's had a couple of other schools really come on strong lately, but had also heard that he was leaning heavily towards Arkansas. So, a lot to keep up with. Still have recruiting and everything. These post-game shows were a blast, but Harry with a beard, yeah. Wouldn't mind if they rescheduled the red-white game to be played in War Memorial Stadium. I like it right where it's at, Trip. So, anyways, I'm planning on being there. Hopefully, you guys go too. So, yeah. Until the next show, I don't have a schedule right now. Just make sure you hit make sure you're subscribed, as I know a lot of you are. Make sure you have the notification bell tapped, and we've still got a lot to talk about. We've got, again, recruiting, spring football. Yeah, I'm going to get into some baseball. I've had a few of you ask me why I'm not talking more about baseball. I'll just be honest, and again, I've said this before, I've made baseball content here, and it does not hold well. It just doesn't do, and I have a hard time talking about stuff that doesn't, I love doing this. I would do this if there were 5 of you in chat, and I only had 50 views, but it's hard to talk about something when there's no one really there to talk to it about, but I will dip into baseball a little bit more, and, yeah, get through spring football, summer camp, and before you know it, fall camp will be here. So, yeah. All right. Woo Pig. I will see you guys on the next one. Great year. No reason to hang your heads. great year for Arkansas basketball. Congrats to them. Wonderful, wonderful year for Eric Musselman and his Hogs. Looking forward to next year already. So, all right, woo pig. We'll see you guys.